Recording in progress.
PC recording started. Cloud is up. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's New York City Council hybrid stated meeting. At this time, would all panelists please turn on your videos? To minimize disruption, please place electronic devices to vibrate or silent. Thank you for your cooperation. We are ready to begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please, quiet on the floor, please. Can you please place all electronic devices to vibrate? All electronic devices to vibrate. Mr. Majority Leader.
Good afternoon and welcome to the stated meeting of March 10th, 2022. I'm Majority Leader Keith Powers, and I'd like to thank everyone here for joining us today and tuning in. If you would like to follow along today, the agenda for our meeting is posted on the City Council website.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Abreu.
Present.
Ariola.
Present.
Aviles. Ayala.
Present.
Barron.
Here.
Botcher.
Here.
Brannan. Brewer.
Here.
Brooks Powers. Caban.
Present.
Carr.
Present.
De La Rosa.
Present.
Dinowitz.
Present.
Farias.
Present.
Felice.
Present.
Gennaro.
Here.
Gutierrez.
Presente.
Hanif.
Here.
Hanks.
Present.
Holden.
Here.
Hudson.
Present.
Joseph.
Here.
Kagan.
Present.
Krishnan.
Here.
Lee. Lewis.
Here.
Marte.
Here.
Mealy. Menon.
Here.
Moya.
Present.
Narcisse.
Present.
Nurse. Osei.
Present.
Palladino.
Present.
Wrestler.
Here.
Richardson Jordan.
Present.
Lee.
Present.
Riley.
Present.
Rivera.
Present.
Salamanca.
Present.
Sanchez.
Presente.
Schulman.
Here.
Brannan.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
Ung.
Present.
Velasquez.
Present.
Vernikoff.
Present.
Williams.
Here.
Juan.
Present.
Brooks Powers.
Present.
Yeager.
Here.
Borelli. Powers.
Here.
Speaker Adams.
Present.
Thank you. We're now joined today, and we'll hear today's invocation from the Reverend Mark Hallinan, Associate Pastor at St. Ignatius Loyola, located at 980 Park Avenue in the wonderful 4th Council District in Manhattan.
Let us pray. O God of tender mercies, in these difficult times, we ask you to pour forth your Spirit in great abundance on the members of this council and their staff who have generously offered themselves in service to our beloved city. In moments of debate, may they be sincere in seeking what is right, just, and true for your people. In moments of decision, may they remember their commitment to the common good of all. In their service to their constituents, may they not favor those of wealth and privilege, rather seek out those whose need is great and whose voice is not heard. And in all things, may they remember that in our great diversity, we are united as members of one family for whom we are all really responsible for all. With your help, may all who serve this great city move us toward the realization of your beloved community in which we are indeed brother and sister to each other, with none lacking what they need to live in dignity. And this we lift up in your most holy and precious name. Amen.
Thank you for that. I want to first say a few words, and then I'll make the motion. First, I want to thank you for joining us here today from Loyola in my district, St. Ignatius Loyola, which is not only a fantastic church and a beautiful church, but also a wonderful school and a wonderful community. I am a St. Francis Presbyterian. I didn't go to Loyola High School, but many of my friends did and are big parts of still the Loyola community. And as we enter into the season of Lent and we think about Easter ahead, we talk a lot about giving up and what we give up and what we give up during Lent, but we also have to talk about how we give to each other. And I think the words that you shared and what we talk and what we do in here is about giving back to each other every single day and giving back to New York City. So I want to thank you very much for being here today. And with that, I make a motion for unanimous consent to spread the invocation in full upon the record. Thanks so much. Thank you. Adoption of minutes.
None.
Messages and papers from the mayor.
M32, Preliminary Mayor's Management Report.
Received, ordered, printed, and filed.
Communication from city, county, and borough offices.
Preconsidered M's 33 and 34, Council Budget.
Finance.
M35, Department of Education 5-Year Capital Plan.
Finance.
M's 36 and 37, Reports from the Comptroller and the New York City Tax Commission.
Received, ordered, printed, and filed.
No, petitions and communications.
M38, Withdrawal of Intro 64.
Received, ordered, printed, and filed.
Land use call-ups.
None.
Thank you. We'll now have communication from Speaker Adrian Adams.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. As a quick reminder, masks are strongly encouraged to be worn throughout our stated meetings here in chambers. March is Women's History Month. Yes. And this year, as we just heard, this year's celebration is particularly special because this is the first women majority in the history of the New York City Council. It is so inspiring to so many across the city, and I'm extremely proud to be the speaker of this historic women-led legislative body that is truly reflective of our city and the essential role women play in leading it. We still have a lot of work ahead of us in our struggle for justice and equity. As we celebrate the achievements and contributions that women of all backgrounds have made to our city and nation, we also honor the sacrifices that have resulted in the transformation of our world into a better place for all. Once again, happy Women's History Month. Today, we are voting on the first bill of this legislative session. Introduction 70 will extend the city's rent stabilization laws from April 1st to July 1st, 2022. This piece of legislation is led by our Chair of Housing and Buildings, Councilmember Pirina Sanchez. Congratulations, Councilmember Sanchez, on passing your very first bill. We are also voting on a few finance items and several resolutions, 2 of which are in support of Ukraine and the more than 150,000 Ukrainian New Yorkers who call our city home as their homeland is attacked by the Russian military. Several council members are passing their first resolutions today, including Council members Crystal Hudson, Councilmember Ina Vernikoff, and Councilmember Shahana Hanif. Congratulations. We are in the second week of our preliminary budget hearings. It's been energizing to see the focus of our committees and members have brought these hearings, prioritizing our city's recovery and investments in the programs and initiatives that will strengthen the well-being of children, families, and all New Yorkers as we ask the hard questions of our city agencies. Addressing health inequities is a priority for this council, and as the city lifts COVID requirements, we need to be laser-focused on tackling public health disparities across our communities and our schools while maintaining our vigilance in response to the science and changing circumstances. The city cannot afford to avert its attention to ensuring adequate availability of testing and continuing to increase vaccinations, especially in parts of the city with greatest disparity rates. The city also has an obligation to clearly communicate new COVID-19 requirement changes, ensuring information reaches all New Yorkers, especially in our immigrant communities and among our residents whose primary language is not English. Unfortunately, throughout the pandemic, we have also experienced a horrific rise in hate violence and anti-Asian violence in our city and across the country. Last year, there were 131 reported bias attacks against Asian Americans in our city, a dramatic increase over the past 2 years, and sadly, that was second to anti-Semitic hate crimes. We cannot allow the AAPI community, Jewish communities, or any of our communities to be targeted in this way. We must work to end these disturbing attacks by holistically addressing these issues that leave New Yorkers vulnerable and prevents them from happening in the first place. We have an obligation to come together around solutions that prevent all violence. All of us deserve to be safe in our everyday lives, and we will work tirelessly to ensure this is a reality. Let us now stand and acknowledge and honor all those harmed, as well as our fellow New Yorkers who have lost their lives. Thank you. You may be seated. Before we delve into our agenda for the day, let's get ready to spring forward because daylight savings time is almost here, you all. Woohoo, woohoo. On Sunday morning, Councilmember Osei, don't forget to set your clocks ahead 1 hour. And next week on March 16th and 17th, our Jewish friends and neighbors will be observing the holiday of Purim. To everyone celebrating, Chag Purim Samayach. I don't know. And a happy and joyous Purim from the heart. Today, we will be voting on a pre-considered introduction, accompanying pre-considered resolution to automatically renew all properties that had received a senior citizen's homeowner property tax exemption or a person's with disabilities homeowner property tax exemption, collectively, she and D, in the year 2021-2022 tax year for the 2022-2023 tax year. This would eliminate the need for them to submit the otherwise required application while requiring renewal applications under certain limited circumstances where there is a reason to believe the property is no longer eligible to receive the exemption. These programs apply to 1, 2, or 3 family homes, and our approval will ensure we continue to protect our seniors and New Yorkers with disabilities who are homeowners with property tax relief, placing the obligation on government rather than eligible homeowners to access the program in this time of need. With the prices of essential goods increasing and our remaining in a pandemic, it is essential that we prioritize our most vulnerable New Yorkers. Without our action on this today, none of our seniors or homeowners with disabilities would be automatically renewed in this program, and many would certainly slip through the cracks of a looming March 15th deadline. There are an estimated 7,100 homeowners who have not yet renewed and could potentially benefit from our action today. Next, we'll be voting on two bid resolutions. Resolution number 19, sponsored by Councilmember Brannan and Lewis, relates to the establishment of the Castle Hill Business Improvement District in Councilmember Farias's district, and sets the date, time, and place for the public hearing to hear all persons interested in the establishment of such district. Preconsidered resolution number 59, sponsored by Councilmember Brannan, relates to the establishment of the West Village Business Improvement District in Councilmember Bottcher's district, and sets the date, time, and place for the public to hear all persons interested in the establishment of such district. Next, we have a transparency resolution, preconsidered resolution 58, sponsored by Councilmember Brannan, which approves the new designation and changes in the designation of certain organizations to receive funding in the expense budget. Next, we have the council's proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2023 and schedule thereof, preconsidered message M33 and M34, and accompanying preconsidered resolutions 73 and 74, sponsored by Councilmember Brannan, which would establish the council budget for the next fiscal year. The budget supports the council's role as a co-equal separate branch of government, investing in our professional staff, the hardworking public servants who help this body oversee city agencies and support our members to represent their districts. It also addresses historic inequities in council members' office budgets by centrally absorbing rent costs for district offices to promote parity and the ability of members to focus their office budgets on adequately hiring and compensating their own staff while covering other essential costs of representing constituents. This budget will provide the council with the resources necessary to meet the many challenges of this next fiscal year. And we appreciate you all and our council staff immensely. As Russia continues its senseless attack on Ukraine, today we are voting on two resolutions to support Ukrainian New Yorkers. Resolution number 67, sponsored by Councilmember Crystal Hudson, condemns the military action taken by the Russian government against the nation of Ukraine. To denounce the military aggression, which affects the people of Ukraine and the nearly 150,000 Ukrainian Americans who live in New York City, this resolution calls on the United States Congress and President Biden to increase and expand the severity of sanctions against Russia for its actions. Preconsidered resolution number 72 by Councilmember Ina Vernikov recognizes the plight of the Ukrainian people by calling on the federal government to offer humanitarian aid and support for the innocent civilians who are currently under threat of military aggression and are being displaced due to the armed conflict in Ukraine, estimated at over 2 million Ukrainians thus far. Staff for these two resolutions are Ali Hajiai. We thank you. Moving on, another resolution we're voting on today, preconsidered resolution number 66 by Councilmember Shahana Hanif, calls on the state legislature to pass and the governor to sign S7373A, 7099A, prohibiting governmental entities from entering into agreements to house individuals in immigration detention facilities. New York counties currently profit from contracts to detain immigrants, which fuels a larger system of deportation and detention that divides families and destabilizes communities. This act, in favor of the New York Dignity Not Detention Act, would get New York out of the business of immigration detention by prohibiting New York governmental entities from entering into immigration detention contracts and from receiving any payments related to immigration detention. Additionally, it would prohibit New York governmental entities from renewing any existing immigration detention contracts, requiring any New York governmental entities with existing immigration detention contracts to exercise the termination provision in the contract, and prohibiting any person, business, or private entity from owning or operating immigration detention facilities. We once again thank our staff, Harbani for help with this important legislation. The next resolution is by Councilmember Justin Brannan. Resolution number 20 calls on the state legislature to pass the New Deal for CUNY, S4461A, A5843A. In order to establish CUNY as an engine for social and economic mobility, this state legislation would waive all tuition and create certain staff-to-student ratios, including a ratio of 1 clinic health counselor per 1,000 students, 65 full-time faculty members per 1,000 students by academic year 2026, and 1 academic advisor per 600 students by academic year 2025. CUNY is a critical pathway to mobility and success for many New Yorkers, often the best option for college education, especially among low-income and working-class New Yorkers, communities of color, and our immigrant neighbors. Yet, students continue to have larger and larger classes increasingly taught by underpaid adjuncts, limited access to academic advisors, and a single mental health counselor for every 2,700 full-time students. The New Deal for CUNY presents a comprehensive approach to improving the student experience at CUNY, providing the appropriate academic, social, and emotional support students need to stay on track to graduate, and the resources needed to renovate CUNY campuses, while reducing the need for students to seek outside income to cover tuition and other expenses. CUNY is very special to me because I attended York College for 1.5 years before transferring to Spelman College. My father attended York College at the same time that I did, as he matriculated and achieved his degree in economic development. I miss him dearly, I'll add that as well. And it was integral to my further success academically and beyond. We thank our staff, Chloe Rivera, for helping with this important legislation. This afternoon, we are voting to extend the city's rent stabilization law. We know that housing is among the most pressing issues for New Yorkers. To maintain the rent stabilization law of 1969, the City Council must periodically determine whether there is an ongoing housing emergency, defined as a vacancy rate of less than 5% of the city's rental housing stock. In response, the Council may pass legislation extending the city's rent stabilization law until the due date of the following determination. This determination is based on data and findings from a triennial survey known as the Housing and Vacancy Survey, which is sponsored by the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development and conducted in collaboration with the United States Census Bureau. The most recent Housing and Vacancy Survey data comes from the 2017 HVS, which indicated a 3.63% vacancy rate and resulted in a 2018 determination of an ongoing housing emergency. Due to the 2020 decennial census, the survey schedule for 2020 was postponed to 2021, allowing the City Council until April 1st, 2022 to determine whether the housing shortage was ongoing. Because the COVID-19 pandemic created additional delays, in November 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul signed legislation to amend the Local Emergency Housing Rent Control Act, authorizing an additional extension of 3 months to determine whether the housing emergency is ongoing. In accordance with such amendment, introduction number 70, out of the Committee of Housing and Buildings will amend the expiration date of the New York City Rent Stabilization Law, reflecting the additional extension from April 1st, 2022 to July 1st, 2022. This local law would take effect immediately. We'd like to thank our staff, Audrey Sun, for her work on this important legislation. Lastly, out of the Rules, Privileges, and Elections Committee, we will be voting on the confirmation of 2 nominees to the New York City Conflicts of Interest Board, one submitted by the Comptroller of Georgia Pestana and another by the Public Advocate of Ifeoma Ike. This concludes our agenda for today. Congratulations once again to all the council members passing bills or resolutions today. Thank you, and with that, I now turn it back to you, Majority Leader Powers.
Thank you so much, and also want to offer my congratulations to all the members passing their first resolutions and bills here today. We're going to now move into the discussion of general orders. I see we have Councilmember Yeager, and then if any others want to sign up, we'll give you an opportunity to sign up. And then we'll go to Councilmember Sanchez. Councilor Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm rising, as those who followed the Finance Committee hearing this morning might expect, on Introduction 71 and Resolution 54, which essentially do the same thing. Ultimately, this is being described in many different ways to many different people, and the most common description is as if we don't do this bill right now today, people are going to lose their exemption. It's really half a truth. If we do the bill the right way today, people won't lose the exemption. What's the right way? Remove the ability of the Department of Finance to decide without any information or without any verifiable information, or at least on their own judgment, anybody who they want off the list. We had this debate in this House, or at least on Zoom, last year, and our former colleague, Councilmember Barron, the other one, worded it the best, and I mentioned that this morning. There are homeowners who may not be here, who may be with relatives living elsewhere, or maybe even hospitalized and not have the ability to be contacted. But to have the ability I would be doing them a great disservice and wouldn't want to have to meet them someplace and ask me why I voted for a bill that put them in this category when they are presently already protected. So let's be clear. The governor signed authority for the council to pass this exemption. The Department of Finance is getting a piece in there that allows them to knock anybody off the list and require them to fill out a paper application. As the information that I just received from council staff, last year, 24,000 New Yorkers did not receive the exemption automatically of the 36,000 who were entitled to it. That's the information that is being passed around by council staff. So 24,000 are being asked to renew, and of that 24, the department found 817 weren't entitled to get it. So we're saying that 24,000 people have to apply by paper because the Department of Finance has reason to believe they may not be entitled to receive it. And of the 24,000 who the Department of Finance has reason to believe, approximately 24,000 ultimately get it. So why go through the charade? So today, Mr. President, I'm going to propose two friendly amendments, Amendment to Introduction 71 and Amendment to Resolution 54, which would very simply strike the entirety of those sections that deal with the allowance of the Department of Finance. I would also request under the rules of council that these items be decoupled from the general agenda, from the general order agenda, and that they be voted on separately following the vote on the amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, we'll stand at ease for 1 minute. I'm now going to call on the Legislative Document Unit to read the two amendments that have been proposed by Councilmember Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. The first is a proposed amendment to Intro 71 by Councilmember Yeager. The proposed amendment would strike the entirety of Section 3, which authorizes the department to require a renewal application from a recipient. The proposed amendment would renumber the remaining sections accordingly. The second amendment, proposed amendment to Resolution 54 by Councilmember Yeager. The proposed amendment would strike the entirety of paragraph number 3, which authorizes the department to require a renewal application from a recipient. The proposed amendment would renumber the remaining sections accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. And pursuant to Rule 9.40 of the City Council rules, the council member has 2 minutes to explain his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is very simple. We passed this amendment today. The bill is changed. A message of necessity comes from across the hall because it is necessary, and I am confident that the mayor wants this to happen because the mayor wants people to have this benefit in our city. We pass it in time, but we don't have language in the bill that says that applicants have to get an application in by March 15th, 5 days from now, which is what the bill currently says. That section is being stricken by my amendment. So if you vote for this amendment, you are striking two things. The part where it says that the department can determine at will whoever they want to knock off this list and require them to submit a paper application. Last year, 24,000. And the second part is the due date of March 15th, which would be statutorily enshrined, notwithstanding the department's representations. Oh, we'll work with people and give them extensions. It's in the statute. It says shall by March 15th. That's 5 days from now. Those entire paragraphs in the resolution and the introduction would be stricken. So during the course of this debate, you will hear folks say, well, it's terrible. If we do this, it won't be enough time to age. We don't need to age. A message of necessity from across the hall. We can get this passed. We could get on the Zoom tomorrow, pass it, no problem. So there is no requirement for aging. There is no conundrum that is keeping us from changing it. It is simply a fix to some staff work that needs a fixing, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to fix the staff work that needed a fixing, and which fixing the bill right here on the floor of the council, the People's House. So I urge you all, please, friends, this is a friendly amendment. This is not designed to hurt the bills. This is designed to get these exemptions into the hands and the pockets of the people who need them the most, the seniors and the disabled, the people who we represent. 18 members joined last year to get this done. This is a chance to do it right this year. It's okay to vote no on a bill that you don't agree with. It's also okay to amend a bill to make it a little better. So I urge you all to vote yes on these amendments. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. We're now going to open up debate on the amendment. If anyone would like to speak. I'm recognizing Councilmember Osei.
Thank you. And can I agree with Councilmember Yeager's statement right now? Is that considered a debate if I'm agreeing with him?
You are allowed to make a statement.
Amazing. Well, my district has had the largest displacement of black people in all of New York City, and a lot of them were homeowners. Everything that happens in this city is magnified in my district. I do not believe this bill is ready, and it does not reflect the best of what we can be without the amendments that Councilmember Yeager proposed. Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights are trendy to the world, but we have extreme pockets of hard-to-reach families and seniors. And we are also a NORC, full of people who have retired decades ago without new income to match yesterday's cost of living. Forget about today. I'm forced to vote yes on this bill, but with these amendments, I would be more excited about voting yes on this bill because I do know that there are approximately 5,000 people that will be hurt if we don't extend this renewal. But how many thousands of people are we hurting by not giving them the best bill and governance we possibly can? As I asked in the finance hearing today, I did request to see how many possible families could benefit from this bill if we were to extend this, and I did not receive an answer. But I do believe that number could be in thousands. I did not believe the bill should have left committee, but as it did, I will vote yes if these amendments are voted on today. Thank you.
Any other individuals or council members who would like to speak on this topic? Councilmember Brooks Powers.
Thank you. While I share concerns that have been raised in the discussion around this piece of legislation, I do want to underscore that today is, in fact, our last day to act on this. So what that means is, if this amendment goes through and the council does not act today, those same seniors that we are concerned about will then be required to manually submit their application as opposed to automatically be renewed. So I just want to underscore that and take that into consideration before we move forward on an amendment that could impact the same seniors we're trying to protect.
Thank you. We're now going to go to Councilmember Barron.
Thank you very much. I, like Councilmember Osei, agree with the content of the amendment, but the other person he was talking about is my wife, Councilmember Inez Barron. And after speaking with her, and after speaking with my chief of staff, and also I want to thank Tanisha Edwards, the deputy chief of staff for the speaker's office, and others in my community, I'm going to vote yes on the bill, the original bill. I think these amendments will be good. I agree with Councilmember Osei, and I'm going to vote yes on the bill rather than abstain, but these amendments would work if it could be done in a timely fashion so that 7,000 people aren't hurt trying to get something passed that would hurt the clock. So my abstention in the committee is turned into a yes vote after speaking to the people I had mentioned before. But I think these amendments are right on time, and it would have been good had they been done initially in committee.
Thank you. And I'm going to call on Councilmember Mealy.
I just would like to concur with my colleagues. We are judged how we handle our seniors and our youth. And so far, it seems like our seniors are second or third thought. So I commend you, Councilman Yeager, for thinking about our seniors. And that's what we all should be thinking about. And I think this body has a great opportunity to help those who cannot be that voice or cannot even get a fax machine because they're scared to come outside. And just imagine, our seniors have to get recertified in NYCC housing, do not have a computer or an email. So I commend you for thinking about our seniors. And I'm voting yes, proudly. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to call on Councilmember Brannan to speak. Thanks.
Thank you. I agree with Councilwoman Mealy in that there's nothing more important than taking care of our seniors, which is why we need to vote to approve this preconsidered reso as it stands. I've certainly learned as in my new role as finance chair that voting on any amendment like this hastily without speaking to the folks that really know this stuff in the finance committee, I think would jeopardize what we're trying to do here, which is to this is just accepting the governor's invitation to automatically renew SCI and D recipients for another tax year. It doesn't shut anybody out of these exemptions. All it does is automatically renew folks, which if we don't do it, over 5,000 people could potentially be left out in the cold, which is not what we want to do. So if we care about seniors, We should move forward with the preconsidered intro, preconsidered reso as they stand. I do not feel that it would be responsible to vote on an amendment now without being able to speak with the finance team with what the repercussions could be for the amendment. So I would urge my colleagues to vote no on the amendment and vote yes on the bill as it stands now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brennan. Just a point of order, and then if anyone else has a hand. Point of, if we approve the amendments today, we'll not be able to pass the legislation today pursuant to Rule 9.40 in the City Council rules. If we approve the amendment, we will lay the bill over to be voted on at the next stated meeting.
Point of
Or at a later
information,
stated meeting.
Mr. President, point of information.
Councilmember Yeager, I'll call on you.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other hands up? Councilmember Nurse?
I'm just trying to get a little bit of clarity in relationship to the March 15th deadline, because what Councilmember Brooks brings up and what you're saying, while I agree with what you're saying, if you could just reiterate, those 5,000 seniors who would be automatically renewed with this amendment, is it removing that March 15th deadline or not? Because what you're putting out is really important, but again, I really agree with Councilmember Brannan. It's rushed, it's hasty, and we're not having time to absorb this. So I would just like a little more clarity on that March 15th piece.
So just a point of clarification, I believe it's a state deadline, so it would not remove the deadline of March 15th. Next time, Councilmember Nurses.
I think we should do yes. While the amendments would certainly help, but right now it's just like we're gonna cut our lamb. We wanna cut the seniors' lamb because we want them to have their opportunity. I understand fully what you're saying about the amendment, but if we go for the amendment, what happened then? We have to do something today. It is late in the game, I understand that, but we got to do something today. We love the seniors. I believe we want to do the right thing, but what is the right thing today? Today is to protect the seniors while we can with the yes, which I respect all the work you've been doing. I would love to go with you, but for today, what do we do today? That's our responsibility, not to cut the seniors' lamb.
We'll now call on Councilmember Hudson, followed by Councilmember Carr, and Councilmember Palladino.
I think ultimately, what I hear, at least, what I think I hear everyone saying is, this is about process and government perhaps maybe being not as efficient as we should be. And so, I agree with so many of the previous comments that my colleagues have made, but I think the bigger picture here is that we continue to be presented with, or I should say, we're put in positions where we have to rush votes. We don't have the full information. And I think, I just want to raise the point that overall, as a practice, we should be looking to be more efficient as government rather than less. Thank you. And I'll just, lastly, my own mother was a recipient of the SHE program, and so I know that, she wouldn't have been able to renew on her own, if it wasn't automatic, if she wasn't automatically enrolled, and so I will be voting yes on these bills. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Councilmember Carr.
Thank you, Majority Leader. If the debate or the offering of these amendments was hasty, then so too is the debate on the overall bill. This is the first time we're able to discuss it. The governor issued her executive order giving us the opt-in on February 14th. We could have been having longer debates both in committee and before we got to this House before then. So the offering of the amendment is hasty because so too was the overall debate. And I think that all my colleagues share, my belief in how important this program is. We all represent significant numbers of seniors and the disabled, many who are both. And like Councilmember Mealy said, many of these individuals are among the least able to respond timely to Department of Finance solicitations for additional paperwork. And I think if we're going to extend auto enrollment, we should extend it writ large, given the difficult conditions that we have at this time. And this is not a poison pill amendment. There's time to adopt the amendment and then to proceed and actually adopt an amended version of this bill without jeopardizing the 5,000 plus individuals who have not yet applied according to DOF testimony earlier today. So I think no one should have cause that they're going to cause someone to lose an exemption by voting yes, but they should have concerns about who might lose their exemptions if they vote against the amendments and then vote for an unamended bill. So that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
We'll now call on Councilmember Palladino, followed by Councilmember Ayala.
I want to echo what Councilmember Carr said, and I fully back what Councilman Yeager said. I, too, represent a district that is loaded with seniors. Most of our demographics are seniors, and all we're asking for is that this can be voted on tomorrow via Zoom. We are not looking to put this off for weeks or months or anything like that. We need due process and the proper timing, and the proper timing can be tomorrow via Zoom. So I say I'm in all favor of the bill as it sits right now, but the timing is off. To leave it 5 days for senior citizens to get it together to file the necessary papers is not enough time. So we could do this the right way, and we could do this tomorrow on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you. And just another point of clarification, we'd also require a mayor, we would require a mayor's message of necessity in order to be able to vote on a bill at a stated that we'd have to schedule. Next, we're going to Councilmember Ayala and then Councilmember Christian.
I mean, I think that there's a little bit of confusion, or a lot of confusion, about what this bill is intended to do, because many of you are arguing or making the argument that seniors are unable to process applications because they don't have access to fax machines or copy machines or scanners, and it's going to take too long to gather the documents that they need in order to recertify. That's exactly why the bill was proposed, is because, and I know this for a fact because I did constituent services for a really long time, a lot of our seniors forget to submit the recertification, and they lose the subsidy because they did not reapply. This is a no-brainer. I mean, this is common sense legislation that would automatically enroll them so that they don't have to go through the trouble of finding a fax and a copy machine and gathering the information. I just feel that this is too important, and we really don't have the time for this. And I do, however, see that because we did not have enough time to debate it, that there is a lot of confusion about what the bill is intended, but I am telling you that there's very reasons for why you're objecting to it, are the reasons why it makes sense to pass this bill today. So thank you.
Now, Councilmember Christian, and then we'll come back to council members who had spoken before.
The central purpose of this legislation is to allow for the automatic renewal of a public benefit. And in this city, having represented many tenants in these situations, it is extraordinarily difficult for tenants to attain public benefits because of how bureaucratic and how complicated these procedures are. This includes applying for SCREE or for DREE. And I think we can't lose sight of the bigger picture that right now, facing a deadline of March 15th, this actually makes the process simpler for seniors and individuals with disabilities to secure a crucial benefit. And we can't lose sight of the fact that this is an automatic, this bill would make them automatically renewed for a benefit that if they lose would be catastrophic for so many. Facing this deadline, I think 5 days before, the amendment being offered is not timely and would undermine, as Councilmember Ayala said as well, the very purpose of the bill to protect many senior citizens and individuals with disabilities in their homes. So I think it's a crucial piece of legislation that needs to pass and will eliminate a major obstacle for many to attain a public benefit in the city.
Thank you. Do we have any other members who want to speak? I have members who want to speak again, and I'll come to them momentarily. Do we have any other members that would like to speak on this? We have Councilmember Abreu.
I have grandparents, and automatic renewals are a great Christmas gift. Let's get this done.
Short to the point. We like that, Mr. Councilmember. Any others who would like to speak at this point in time? Okay, we'll come back. Yes, Councilmember Areillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't think that the renewal portion of this bill is what is part of Council Member Yeager's friendly amendment, but what really stuck out to me was it said, the department will notify such recipient as soon as practical of the requirement to submit a renewal application and require such renewal application be submitted by March 15th of the appropriate year. My mother is also a recipient of this, and half the time, she's 84 years old, she has all of her faculties, but she doesn't always see when she gets a renewal. So what is the practical time between now and March 15th? So all we're saying is, if we give it a day, we can amend we can keep what is already wonderful about the bill, which is the automatic renewal, and we can add to it what could make it better. Yes, it was rushed, but we still have time to make this the best possible bill for our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other council members who would like to speak in this first round? Okay. We'll now go back for members who I presume want to add in. We'll first go to Councilmember Yeager, then Councilmember Brown, then Councilmember Osei.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me be clear. This doesn't take away the automatic renewal. Doesn't matter what staff says. My amendment doesn't take away the automatic renewal. This can't be passed in time, is the argument. Not true. This council can be called back and vote tomorrow on a bill. Oh, we can't do it because it has to age. Not true. The mayor will give us a message of necessity. There's no problem with that. There's no reason the mayor wouldn't do it. That we are messing up the process of the automatic renewals. Not true. It's just, these are not truthful arguments. What the arguments that you're hearing is that somebody here in the council, a staffer, prepared a bill, and they don't want to see it changed. And we are carrying that water. It's very clear. We have an opportunity now to fix this bill, and just in reference to timely amendments, look, no amendment on the floor is ever timely. It's happening on the day we're voting for it. That's the way amendments work. No amendment could be timely. It's the nature of amendments. The idea of an amendment is to take a bill that is okay and make it actually work the best way possible. It is 5 days away from the city of New York using the best practical way of reaching out to 24,000, possibly 24,000 New Yorkers who receive this exemption and telling them you have to apply for renewal by the 15th in 5 days. When is this practical time? Are they doing it over the weekend? Sending it out on the 12th? That's 3 days from now, 2 days from now. When are they sending this out? Putting it in Saturday's mail, Sunday's mail? But if we change the bill, the city doesn't have to do anything. Sit back, wait. Everybody's going to send in their payments with their exemptions. Nobody will have lost it. And all we have to do is be willing to show up tomorrow on Zoom and vote in favor of an amended bill. So simple. I'm willing to. I hope you all are as well. I urge you to vote yes on these two amendments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Yeager. We're now going to Councilmember Brannan.
Thank you. Councilmember Yeager is suggesting sounds fantastic, but it's not practical. We don't have the time to do this amendment. We're not going to get a message of necessity from the mayor. If we fail to enact this bill today, we will lose our chance to get this done. That's the bottom line. If the council will not have another opportunity to pass legislation that would auto-renew these folks. I appreciate the robust debate on this bill, but there's really nothing controversial about this. No one is carrying anybody's water. The bottom line is if we don't pass this bill today, 5,000 plus seniors will no longer get the benefit. And if we pass this, they'll all be auto-renewed. That's it. That's all this is about. That's what this boils down to. It's about auto-renewal. And we're talking about seniors and disabled homeowners. We need to vote down the amendment, and we need to proceed with the pre-considered intro and reso and get this done. If we could revisit the language of it at a different time, but we have to get this done. This is very, very important, and we will not get a message of necessity from the mayor. We will not have another chance to do this. We will jeopardize the 5,000 plus seniors who are on the hook now to be auto-renewed. If this fails, or if the amendment passes and there's no time to actually get the reso done, which there will not be, then 5,000, we'll have to go back to our districts and tell 5,000 seniors, sorry, we argued over a couple of words and now you're not going to get auto-renewed for your benefits.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Osei.
I just wanted to clarify that I don't think, and I'll speak for myself, I don't think this is a bad bill. I think this is a pretty good bill. I just do believe that it can be better. This is the greatest city in the world, and I think our government can be the same. After consideration and speaking to Councilmember Brooks Powers, I am aware that there would have to be some statewide changes in order for these amendments to follow through, so I will be voting no on the amendments. I do not want to see seniors hurt. I don't think any of us want to see seniors hurt if this bill is not passed, but I just do want to say that we knew this March 15th deadline existed. I think we could have put in some more work to think this bill through a little more and make it more inclusive to many of the residents that exist across all of our districts. And I will vote yes on this bill and no on these amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other council members who'd like to speak on these amendments at this point in time? Give 1 second in case anyone else would like to speak. Okay, I'm going to now call on the clerk to take a vote on these coupled. Oh, sorry, we're going to stand at ease 1 second. Thank you, everyone. You can find your seats. We are now going to have the clerk call for a roll call vote on the coupled amendments. Just as a reminder, this is not a vote on the bill, it's a vote on the amendments. If you're voting yes, you're voting for the amendments. If you're voting no, you're voting against the amendments. Sorry, yes, I can repeat again. This is a vote on the amendments to the bill, not on the actual bill. So if you're in support of Councilmember Yeager's amendments, you're voting yes on the amendments. If you're against the amendments to the bill, you're voting no on the amendments. This is a vote on the amendments, not on the actual bill. We will take a vote on the bill potentially afterwards. So we are going to now ask for the clerk to take a roll call on the couple amendments from Councilmember Yeager.
Abreu.
Respectfully, no.
Ariola.
Yes.
Aviles. Ayala.
No.
Barron.
I think we can get a message of necessity from the mayor. I think it can be done. I vote yes, but if this fails, I will be voting yes on the other proposed bill.
Thank you.
I vote yes.
Thank you. Botcher.
No.
Brannan.
No.
Brewer.
No.
Brooks Powers.
I vote no.
Caban.
No.
Carr.
Yes.
De La Rosa.
No.
Dinowitz.
No.
Farias.
I just want to say that I agree with Councilmember Yeager, but bureaucracy is in the way, and I'm really nervous about the failure to support seniors, so I'll be voting no on amendments.
Thank you. Feliz.
Permission to explain my vote.
Go ahead.
We have to do everything within our power to protect our seniors. I understand the concerns and the reasons for the proposed amendment. However, due to the posture of the matter and given the strict deadlines, I have to vote no.
Thank you. Gennaro.
Pass.
Gutierrez.
I vote no.
Hanif.
I vote no.
Hanks.
No.
Holden.
I vote yes.
Hudson.
No.
Joseph.
No.
Kagan.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Yes, I understand concern of Councilmember Kalman Yeager and others, but I believe today is March 10th. I do not want to jeopardize this automatic renewals. It's crucial, it's important, so I'm voting no.
Thank you. Krishnan.
No.
Lee.
Permission to explain my vote?
Yep, go ahead.
I just wanted to echo the sentiments of my other council members as someone who ran senior centers and did social services for a lot of our older adult communities. I really appreciate the thought that Councilmember Yeager has put into this and agree with his sentiments, but because of the timeline and the fear that they won't get automatically renewed, I also vote no. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Lewis.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I echo the same sentiments. I agree with the recommendation. The timing is off, and I hope we could consider having these conversations in DEM conference and take it a little bit more seriously to have it in advance. So I vote no today.
Marte.
No.
Mealy.
Yes, I think that this amendment is a great amendment, but I really feel that we should have more time, that we could really analyze it and do what's best for our seniors. We really don't know if the mayor will pass that home rule right away. So at this time, I will vote no for the amendment, but I know we have to revisit this because our seniors are the lost voices in this whole process and not thinking about the homeowners. Some of them still have their faculties at 97 years old, still doing electric slides. So please, we need to help them in this endeavor. Thank you.
Menon.
No.
Moya.
No.
Narcisse.
Permission to explain my vote?
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. In my district alone, I have 60% of small homeowners. In my office, ever since we opened, we've been addressed to help and the seniors in the district that don't have a fax, which I'm in agreement, that don't have a probably even to notarize their papers. So I appreciate what my council member my colleagues been working on so hard, Jaeger, which I understand. But today, we are forced to do what we're supposed to do, which is represent. Sometimes it is tough to make decisions, but today, since we don't have the time, the mayor is not obligated to give us the necessity message to get it done. So in the meanwhile, we have to take the decision. I would have to say no. Thank you so much and respect for you.
Nurse.
Permission to explain?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I fully agree with Councilmember Jaeger on the need to make this a better bill. I agree with my other colleagues who expressed that. I just personally cannot in real time absorb this level of information and make responsible decisions. So I would really encourage more thoughtful planning and consideration in the future for something as significant and impactful as this. And I vote no.
Thank you. Osei.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
For the record, this is a good bill. I think we could always be better, and I think that's what we should strive for in life, to always be better. So I vote no.
Palladino.
I vote a firm yes.
Rustler.
No.
Richardson Jordan.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
I don't really understand why the mayor wouldn't give us the necessity, and I don't really understand why we wouldn't then just lobby the mayor for what we need to get this done right and correctly and in time. So I vote yes on the amendment.
Riley.
No.
Rivera.
Thank you to my colleagues who've spoken really eloquently. I want to align myself especially with the comments from Linda Lee and Councilmember Sandy Nurse, but I do respectfully vote no.
Salamanca.
I vote no.
Sanchez.
I vote no.
Schulman.
Permission to explain my vote?
Granted.
As someone who represents a district that has the highest or one of the highest numbers of seniors of any council district, it's important to me that a lot of these seniors who will be negatively affected by us not voting for this bill, that they get the services they need, so I vote no on the amendment.
I'm not voting against the bill. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Stevens.
Permission to explain my vote?
Granted.
I agree with my colleague, Carmen Yeager, about the amendments and understand his sentiments around it. However, I do think in timely manners, we have to make sure we're working efficiently and making sure we're getting stuff done. But I want to just urge our colleagues moving forward that we do use Dem Conference to have these conversations and debates to get things done, because like our colleague Sandy Nurse just said, it's really hard to try to absorb these things in such a timely manner and really get the full understanding. But right now, because we have to do what we need to do for our seniors, I firmly vote no.
Ong.
I vote no.
Velasquez.
No.
Vernikov.
Yes on the amendment.
Williams.
Respectfully, no.
Thank you. Juan.
No.
Jaeger.
I appreciate very much the kind words from my colleagues, particularly those who voted no but proceeded with the word respectfully. I'm grateful for that. I do vote yes on this, and I still do think it's a good idea. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Borelli.
Yes.
Powers.
I vote no.
Speaker Adams.
I vote no.
I have yet to vote.
Excuse me, Councilman. Councilmember Gennaro.
Jim, this is the amendment. Yes.
Thank you. My apologies.
I didn't even look at it.
Thank you. By a vote of 40 in the affirmative, 10 in the negative. Oh, sorry, that is correct.
I wrote it backwards.
Okay. Thank you. The final vote tally is 10 in the affirmative, 40 in the negative, and 0 abstentions. That motion is defeated. I'm now going to call on Councilmember Yeager. Right? Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just briefly, my previous request to decouple the main question on Introduction 71 and Resolution 54 from the General Orders calendar, I'd like to withdraw that request and have it recoupled with the General Orders calendar so that there be one roll call.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilor.
Thank you.
Okay. We are now going to resume the general orders. We will now first hear from Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. And echoing some of my colleagues, just want to acknowledge Councilmember Yeager's amendments as good ones, but ones that I did not find timely. So I'm actually speaking to colleagues on behalf of Intro 70, the one right before 71. I'm just so excited today to be sponsoring and voting in support of my very first piece of legislation, Intro 70, which is going to extend the deadline for the Department of Housing Preservation and Development to finish the housing vacancy survey. The HVS is what allows New York City to issue a determination to Albany that then allows Albany to allow us to have rent stabilization. Rent stabilization protects 1 million renters in the city of New York. That's of 3 million households. 30% of our renters, of our households, are protected by rent stabilization, which protects them from not receiving lease renewals, protects them from seeing unconscionable increases in their rents from year to year. And so I want to urge all the colleagues to vote aye on Intro 70, and also to keep the push for good cause legislation, which would extend very similar protections in Albany to many more renters across the state of New York, and including in New York City. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to call on Councilmember Barron.
Thank you very much. My colleagues, I'm just asking unanimous consent to vote on all general order items and resolutions. I do have a dental emergency, so I would appreciate that. I guess.
Okay, thank you. Any objections? How do you vote?
Well, I'd like to, on all general order items, I vote yes. And on the resolutions on Ukraine and I have to abstain from that. I strongly suggest that you read the history of Ukraine and the role that the United States, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and the European Union plays in creating this tension and conflict. In 2014, they had a coup d'etat where they took out a duly elected president in the Ukraine so that they can expand the national corporations' capital expenditures and profits in the Ukraine, and they took out a duly elected president. And this led to the tension, and they put in a right-wing conservative president. And then the other resolution that doesn't recognize at all the way Africans are being treated in the Ukraine. At the border, they're beaten, and Africans have been stopped from leaving and discriminated. There's been racism. The AU, the African Union, spoke out against that. The NAACP spoke out against that. And none of this is mentioned in our resolution. So I thank you. I know you're sorry you gave me unanimous consent, but I thank you for doing it. And I encourage you, read the history. NATO is a military coalition of European countries. They're in Africa, created 23 coups d'etats, killed women and children. NATO, backed by America. So We need to read the history of these conflicts, and I condemn all killing of innocent women and children in the theater of war. But I am abstaining from these resolutions. We gotta read the history, and you'll see the role of imperialism and capitalism in that region and all over the world. We must be fair and honest in this. I thank you. I abstain on the resolutions on the Ukraine resolutions, and I vote yes on C&G. I really think that that was a good piece put together. And while I supported them, I do support this bill because it will help our seniors.
Thank you, Councilmember Barron. We are now going to go to Councilmember Hudson and then Councilmember Farias.
Today we're voting on 2 appointments to the New York City Conflicts of Interest Board, Georgia Pestana and Ifioma Ike. Both of these nominees are trailblazers in their own right. Ms. Pestana was the first woman and first Latinx person to lead the law department. Ms. Ike is a Black woman who has held senior positions at various organizations and is the first COIB appointee by a public advocate. Both of these appointments came before the council with alleged conflicts of interest. Each nominee was given the opportunity to testify under oath about the circumstances of the alleged conflict and provided documentation to support their claims. The Rules Committee voted 8-1 to send these nominations to the full council for a vote. This system of due process, one in which potential appointees are asked to address any concerns head-on, worked. Both women submitted to thorough questioning, and each came out exonerated. This process ensures all appointees are qualified and committed to serve the city of New York with the utmost integrity. And we should understand that facing greater questioning and heightened scrutiny is not tantamount to the existence of a valid conflict with an appointee, but rather part of a process that guarantees the integrity of the council. This process showed that both Ms. Pestana and Ms. Ike are qualified appointments for the Conflicts of Interest Board. That said, I would like to call attention to the line of inquiry of some of my colleagues. During the hearings, Ms. Ike faced extensive questioning regarding some statements she made on social media that were irrelevant to her qualifications for this role. My suggestion is not that Ms. Ike should be exempt from robust questioning, but impugning her character and her ability to serve impartially reflects the long history of racist and sexist dog whistles levied against Black women to suggest they are somehow less qualified. I urge my colleagues to reflect and recognize how systemic biases, though often unintentional, influence our approach to fact-finding and the disproportionate impact on women of color, queer folks, people living with disabilities, and other marginalized communities. We can be both thorough and fair. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Farias, followed by Councilmember Holden, followed by Councilmember Nurse.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I just wanted to highlight for everyone here today that we'll be voting on the creation of the Castle Hill Business Improvement District in my council district. The formation of the Castle Hill bid has been a long process, long before myself and predecessor, way back to Councilmember Annabelle Palma days. And there are so many community members, steering committee members, adjacent bids that have worked really, really hard to make this happen. The bid, which will be the second in my district, is extremely important to promote the economic development in my council district, and I encourage all of my colleagues to support it and vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll acknowledge Councilmember Holden.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I ask for unanimous consent to vote on all items on the general order calendar and resolutions.
Thank you. Any objections? How do you vote?
Aye on all, with the exception of M16, of which I vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Holden. We'll now go to Councilmember Nurse.
Good afternoon. I just want to express my wholehearted full support for one of the nominees to the Conflict of Interest Board, Ifioma Ike. Ifi is a leader, an innovator, and someone who thankfully speaks truth to power. She is a talented Black woman who has worked hard as a successful lawyer and a respected advocate. I believe Ifi will truly be an asset to this administration, and without a doubt will work to support her colleagues with integrity and accountability. Just want to echo Councilmember Hudson's comments and remind this body that due diligence has been done, and the committee has voted to move her forward after extensive
questioning. So I urge my colleagues to vote yes, and thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now go to Councilmember Williams.
Thank you. Echoing the sentiments of Councilmember Hudson and Nurse, Ralph Marston says, "You are here to be real, not to be perfect." Bell Hooks once said, "There must exist a paradigm, a practical model for social change that includes an understanding of ways to transform consciousness that are linked to efforts to transform structures. In a small way today, we have made a real step forward towards daring to not only diversify our structures, but to transform who gets heard within our systems. The Conflict of Interest Board is about fairness, but fairness is a place we're all trying to achieve on a daily basis. We are not perfect, but alas, we can be real. Every space is a microcosm for the larger systematic realities we face, and city government is no different. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can use the systems we have in place to work hard, to be fair, while also questioning those systems and looking at how they impact communities differently. I commend the public advocate for making his first nomination for Ifioma Ike, a well-recognized and respected leader in equity, activism, and leadership. Her experiences in government and communities across our city has been critically impactful. Ifi has a passion and expertise in fighting for justice, which makes her fully equipped for this role. I trust that careful investigative work has commenced. I also want to thank the council staff for their rigorous vetting process. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll go to Councilmember Caban.
Thank you. I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues that came before me, Council members Hudson, Nurse, and Williams. I too am urging my colleagues to support Ifi Ike for this position, as we should, rightfully so, critique, question, which was done here, due diligence was done. One thing that really resonates that came to mind that I felt very strongly was the sentiment that Ifi is somebody who time and time again speaks truth to power. And that's what we need more than anything in this moment, in this position. She handled the questioning, I thought, with such great poise, with radical transparency and honesty throughout the entire process, and is just a brilliant legal mind and an incredibly dedicated public servant, and beyond that has shown such a dedication to specifically Black and brown, low-income New Yorkers, and I can't think of a better person to sit on the Conflicts of Interest Board, so I hope my colleagues will join us in supporting her.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else signed up for general orders? I have a list for resolutions, but anybody for general orders? I have Councilman Riley.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I wasn't going to speak today, but I had a horrific murder, suicide that happened in my district this weekend. Gabrielle Munez, 26, and her daughter, who was 6 years old, who was also murdered. Just wanted to state domestic violence is very real within our communities. And I just urge my colleagues, if you could just support any domestic violence groups within your districts and really pay attention to what's going on, because this murder has really played a tough role, it's been a tough weekend, because I have my 6-year-old and I could just imagine how she would have felt if she was in the same predicament. So I just wanted to raise Gabby and Rosara's name to the skies, and please just pay attention to domestic violence and what's happening in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, report of the special committees.
None.
Report of standing committees.
Report of the Committee on Finance, preconsidered intro 71, property tax exemptions.
Coupled on general orders.
Resolution 19, Castle Hill bid.
Coupled on general orders.
Preconsidered Reso 54, property tax exemptions.
Coupled on general orders.
Preconsidered Reso 58, transparency.
Coupled on general orders.
Preconsidered Reso 59, West Village bid.
Coupled on general orders.
Preconsidered M33 and Reso 73, and preconsidered M34 and Reso 74, council budget.
Coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Housing and Buildings, intro 70, rent stabilization law.
Coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Rules, Privileges, and Elections, M15 and Reso 75, approving the appointment of Georgia Pastana Conflicts of Interest Board.
Coupled on general orders.
M16 and Reso 76, approving the appointment of Ifioma Ike Conflicts of Interest Board.
Coupled on general orders.
Resolution appointing various persons, Commissioner of Deeds.
Coupled on general orders, and I would now ask that the clerk take a roll vote on all of the items coupled on today's general orders calendar.
Salamanca.
Aye on all.
Abreu.
Aye on all.
Ariola.
Aye on all except M15 and Resolution 75.
Aviles. Ayala.
Aye on all with the exception of Resolution 76.
I'm sorry, Councilman.
No on Resol 76, aye on all.
Thank you. Botcher.
Aye on all.
Brennan.
Aye.
Brewer.
I want to vote aye on all, and I want to just point out, as part of the Rules Committee, the good discussion that took place. Some of us were not sure. We didn't know the individuals. They stood up extremely well under questioning, and I think that's an example of the way in which the People's House, the City Council, can have these kinds of discussions sunshine. And I feel very strongly in terms of the Speaker's bill number 71, because I think that the Department of Finance will complete their work, and they are going to get us the names of the individuals per council district, and we can make sure that they are considered positively, if appropriate, for their discount on their property tax, whether they're seniors and disabled. So I vote aye on all.
Thank you. Brooks Powers.
Aye on all.
Caban.
Aye on all.
Carr.
Permission to explain my vote?
Granted, yes.
Thank you. I've abstained on preconsidered introduction 71 and preconsidered resolution 54 in Finance Committee earlier today because I had hopes that we would amend them successfully and then adopt them in a timely manner as amended so that no one would be at risk at losing their senior citizen or disabled homeowner exemptions. With the defeat of those amendments, unfortunately, for me, I judge the risk now being more if we do not pass the bill because of those who have yet to actually timely return their paper applications. And so given that that's the case, I'll be supporting those bills now on the floor. So I also disclosed on the record in finance, but I'll do so again now. We're funding CUNY in this transparency resolution, and I have a domestic partner of mine who's a student there. And so I'll be voting no on M15 and M16 with accompanying resolutions 75 and 76, and introduction 70, and aye on the rest. Thank you.
Thank you. Just very quick announcement. We have to maintain a quorum for the resolutions, so we need folks to stay here until we get an opportunity to vote on them. Thanks.
Thank you. De La Rosa.
Aye on all, and I'd just like to thank Councilwoman Sanchez for her leadership for rent-stabilized tenants across our city.
Thank you. Dinowitz.
Aye on all.
Thank you. Farias.
I vote aye on all.
Feliz.
Aye.
Gennaro.
Mr. Leader, I wish to speak on my vote.
Yes, go ahead.
I vote aye on all, and I would ask the Finance Committee to lend me some assistance as to how I may be able to identify those seniors who may be at risk for being purged for the tax exemption, the seniors and disabled. If the Finance Committee or the Department of Finance could lend me some assistance in that matter, this is my formal request from my office to receive that assistance. The floor amendments didn't pass, but certainly I'll be voting yes on the bill that relates to, I guess it's 71, and everything else on the general order calendar, but I wish assistance with regard to identifying my constituents who might be affected by being purged by the Department of Finance.
Thank you. Councilmember Ariola.
Thank you for the opportunity. Aye on all, except for M15, 16, coupled with Reso 75, 76, and Intro 70.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gutierrez.
Aye on all.
Hanif.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
I'm so proud to be voting in favor of my first bill, Resolution 66, which calls on the state to pass the Dignity Not Detention Act.
Councilor Hanif, I think we have you signed up for the resolution at
Okay.
the top. We'll come back to you.
Got
Is that
it.
okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hanks.
Oh, how do you vote?
Excuse me.
Aye on all.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Hanks.
Aye on all.
Thank you. Hudson.
Aye on all.
Joseph.
Aye on all.
Kagan.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
First of all, I would like to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Hudson and Councilmember Vernikov, for expressing, and everybody else who expressed solidarity with peace-loving people of Ukraine who are currently under bombardment from imperialistic, like Councilman Charles Barron said, Russia. Second of all, I am voting yes on all resolutions, and I'm abstaining on Resolution 20. I'm proud product of CUNY. I'm a graduate of Baruch College. I support Baruch College Fund, but this resolution doesn't explain the mechanism of paying for all of this.
Councilor Kagan, we're not on resolutions yet. We're voting on the bill. So do you want to get your vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ariola.
It's me again. Okay, so I'm an aye on Intro 70.
You were an aye on Intro 70.
Yes.
Thank you.
Aye. Thank you for your consideration.
No problem. Krishnan.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make some comments regarding Intro 70. I first want to thank Chair Pierina Sanchez of the Committee on Housing and Buildings for her leadership on this issue when it comes to extension of rent stabilization. We are facing a perpetual housing emergency in this city where rents are skyrocketing. Tenants, especially in communities of color and low-income communities of color, are being displaced overnight from their homes. I have represented too many tenants in situations where their ceilings are caving in, where they're being harassed by their landlords, where their rents are being raised illegally overnight by slumlords bent on getting them out of their homes. It is crucial we pass and extend the rent stabilization protections because that's just the first step that we can do to keep tenants in their homes. The bigger fight that we have ahead of us is to ensure that the rent stabilization laws are actually enforced on the ground every day in communities far from here, far from City Hall. But to get to that point, we must ensure that given the housing emergency we face, the very low vacancy rate, that we ensure rent stabilization continues in this city. So I proudly vote in favor of it and vote aye on all the other pieces of legislation as well.
Thank you. Lee.
Aye on all.
Lewis.
I vote aye.
Marte.
Aye on all.
Mealy.
Aye on all.
Menon.
Aye on all.
Moya.
I vote aye.
Narcisse.
Aye on all.
Nurse. Thank you. Osei.
Aye on all.
Palladino.
I vote no on M15 and M16 and Resolution 75 and 76. I vote aye on 70 and aye on all, on the rest.
Thank you. Wrestler.
Aye on all, and I just want to congratulate my friend Pirina Sanchez on her leadership protecting rent-stabilized tenants across our city. Thank you.
Richardson Jordan.
Aye on all.
Riley.
Aye on all.
Rivera.
Aye.
Sanchez.
Aye on all.
Schulman.
Aye on all, and I want to congratulate Chair Sanchez, especially since I'm a rent-stabilized tenant.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevens.
Aye on all.
Ung.
Aye on all.
Thank you. Velasquez.
Aye on all.
Vernikov.
Aye on all except M15, M16 with accompanying resolutions 75 and 76.
Thank you. Williams.
Aye on all.
Juan.
Aye on all.
Yeager.
Aye on all with the exception of M16, accompanying resolution 76, and consistent with how I voted in the past on these topics, I vote no on M33 and 34, and accompanying resolutions 73 and 74, and resolutions 19 and 59. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment. Borelli.
I vote aye on all except intro 70, M15 and accompanying resolution 75, M16 and accompanying resolution 76. Thank you.
Thank you. Powers.
With a very big congratulations to Councilmember Sanchez on her first and very important bill that hopefully becomes law, I vote aye.
Speaker Adams.
Congratulations once again to Chair Sanchez on this very important legislation. With that, I do vote aye on all.
All items on today's general order calendar are adopted by a vote of 50 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, with the exception of M15 and Resolution 75, which was adopted by a vote of 45 in the affirmative and 5 in the negative, 0 abstentions, and M16, and Resolution 76, which was adopted by a vote of 42 in the affirmative, 8 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 70, which was adopted by a vote of 48 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Resolution 19, which was adopted by a vote of 49 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 0 abstentions. And M33 and 34th resolutions, which was adopted by a vote of 49 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, 0 abstentions. We are now going to move into the discussion of resolutions. Sorry. Oh, my apologies. Introduction and reading of bills.
All bills have been referred to committees as indicated on today's agenda.
Got it, thanks. We are now going to move into discussion resolutions, and I'll call on the list. Just as a reminder, on resolutions, this is a voice vote. If you wish to vote against or abstain from any of the resolutions that we're voting on today, you can notify the Legislative Documents Unit by email, or you can approach the dais now and give them your vote. Before we go into the voice vote, we are going to now call on council members to speak on the resolutions that we're voting on today. And we're going to start with Councilmember Hanif.
Thank you so much. Take two. First, I'd just like to thank all my colleagues who reached out to me, showing their compassion and checking in. I just got my left hip replaced for the second time because of lupus. I'm healing very well, and I can't wait to see you all at the end of this month, fully mobile. I'm so proud to be voting in favor of my first bill, Resolution 66, which calls on the state to pass the Dignity Not Detention Act. This act would prohibit localities within New York State from entering into contracts with the federal government for the purposes of immigration detention. Thank you to Public Advocate Williams for introducing this bill alongside me, and to 10 council members who have joined as co-sponsors. Last Monday, I chaired a more than 6-hour immigration committee hearing where we heard from directly and formerly detained people about the absolutely horrifying conditions at the ICE facility in Orange County. This is a county jail in mid-Hudson Valley that contracts with ICE to detain New Yorkers in their custody. These are mostly New York City residents, none of whom are facing any criminal charges, and they are solely being held for civil immigration violations. At the hearing, detained constituents detailed the harrowing experiences, including lack of healthcare, racist staff, and inedible food. Nobody should have to live like this. These New Yorkers should be back in their communities where they can work and be with their families. I want to thank the advocates, elected officials, and formerly and currently detained immigrants who shared their testimony and stories to help this resolution advance to the floor today. I am so proud to be part of a city council that is taking a bold stand against the inhumane practice of immigration detention.
Thank you. Before we move on, I want to announce that we also had Resolution 59, which was adopted by a vote of 49 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 0 abstentions. We're now going to go to Councilmember Vernikov.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to disagree with some of the propaganda expressed here earlier by Councilmember Barron regarding Ukraine. I'd like to thank Speaker Adams for her partnership, as well as the collaboration of Chair Dinowitz and the entire Jewish caucus in bringing forth this resolution. I'd also like to thank Councilmember Hudson for bringing forth her resolution, which condemns Russian aggression and calls for stronger sanctions on Russia. Our two resolutions go hand in hand, and I encourage my colleagues to vote yes on Resolution 67. In the last 2 weeks, President Putin has unleashed a violent, unprovoked assault on liberty in Ukraine. His aggression has triggered a humanitarian crisis with ramifications across the globe. But despite Putin's arrogance, the people of Ukraine have stood strong, defending their homeland with remarkable courage and strength. As a Ukrainian-born American, I have been incredibly touched by the outpouring of support that has flown from my fellow New Yorkers. In my district, we have organized plane loads of humanitarian and medical aid and sent them to the border. The last 2 weeks have been a challenging and frightening time for Ukrainians as they fight for democracy in the face of violence and tyranny. A shining spot of hope has been the incredible support of good people across the world, including here in the United States. Here in New York City, folks have rallied together to support frontline fighters in Ukraine, the refugees who were forced to flee their homes, and the 150,000 Ukrainian-born New Yorkers. And here in the Council, my colleagues have similarly demonstrated their support. The New York City Council's action today sends a strong message to the people of Ukraine. We stand with you as you fight for your right to life, liberty, and peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Hudson, Councilmember Osei, Councilmember Caban, Councilmember Kagan. Thanks.
Thank you. Today I'm introducing a resolution condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine and calling upon Congress and President Joseph R. Biden to increase and expand the severity of sanctions imposed on Russia. As a nation, we've quickly mobilized our support for Ukraine and condemned Russia and President Vladimir Putin for violating Ukrainian sovereignty. The Russian military has destroyed hospitals, schools, and apartments, killed thousands of Ukrainians, and displaced more than 2 million residents. Russia has committed the most serious military intervention in Europe since World War II. Russia's actions have been met with near universal condemnation, with politicians of all ideologies criticizing Putin's actions and calling for a swift response. This resolution shows that we, the New York City Council, stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine and urge the Biden administration to use all diplomatic means available, including stronger sanctions to stop the Russian encroachment of Ukrainian sovereignty and halt Vladimir Putin's egomaniacal land grab. It is also my hope that we stand in solidarity with the Black and brown New Yorkers who are from and have family in other countries plagued by similar circumstances of violence and displacement. It may come as a surprise to most that a Black queer woman would have any interest in what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. I tend to focus my advocacy and efforts on issues here in New York, particularly those relating to Black and brown folks and my constituents in central Brooklyn. But my district is made up of many immigrant families, some of whom are from Eastern Europe. If a Black queer woman can champion a resolution relating to a foreign conflict in Eastern Europe, then certainly any of us could lend our voices to and advocate for the Black and brown folks of nations like Haiti, Honduras, and Syria as they face military and humanitarian conflicts that threaten the existence of their traditions, family, and homelands. This resolution can mark the beginning of a shift, one that defines us as a legislative body guided by unwavering love, compassion, and support for all marginalized groups, not just some. Let this be a lesson to us. The way we're standing up for all Ukrainians is how we as a legislative body and as a nation should stand up for all refugees seeking asylum here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Councilmember Osei, followed by Councilmember Caban.
Thank you. I commend Councilmember Vernikov and Councilmember Hudson for their steadfast leadership in both of these resolutions. I do want to acknowledge some of the same sentiments that I shared in our committee hearing yesterday, or committee vote yesterday. The approach we are taking to Ukrainian refugees is noble, and I'm warmed to see the nations of the world extend this welcome to the victims of Russia's bloodthirsty war. We must take the same approach to Haitian refugees who were instead met with ICE agents on horseback, brutalizing them at the border, and Syrian refugees who, like the Ukrainians, seek sanctuary from war. The world is showing it is capable of humane and welcoming treatment towards refugees. Let's ensure Black and brown refugees can receive it too. I condemn Vladimir Putin's ruthless aggression and call on our state and federal leaders to take stronger action to weaken his army and his hand. I stand in solidarity with the proud Ukrainian people, and again, I commend the two council members for both of their resolutions. Thank you.
Incredible timing. Go to Councilmember Caban, followed by Councilmember Kagan.
Thank you. I want to make clear that I am no expert in foreign policy, and I want to emphasize that I strongly condemn the Russian military's invasion and give my wholehearted support for the resolution in favor of humanitarian aid for displaced Ukrainians. However, my understanding is that in places like Venezuela and Iran, broad-based punishing sanctions have not resulted in the governmental changes sought by U.S. policymakers, but rather poverty and hunger among everyday Venezuelans and Iranians. And so I don't wish to punish the everyday people of Russia, many of whom are courageously standing up against Putin's war. And if we want to target Putin's inner circle, we have a good way of doing that. Luxury real estate in New York City is one of the favorite investment pursuits of the Russian ruling class that supports Putin. And I agree with Manhattan Borough President that we should be seizing those assets. With these considerations in mind, I vote no on the Resolution 67. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Kagan, followed by Councilmember Axis.
Thank you. So first of all, I would like again to thank Council Member Hudson and Councilmember Vernikov for their resolutions expressing solidarity with Ukraine, and also support the idea of Resolution 20 to make CUNYs more affordable. I'm proud product of CUNY. I'm a graduate of Baruch College, and I'm donating to Baruch College Fund, and I'm a member of Baruch College Alumni Association. But this resolution doesn't provide mechanism to pay for this. And if this is like calling for another tax and another cut of social services or anything like this, I would be against it. So I would abstain on Resolution 20, and I would support all other resolutions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll hear from Councilmember Narcisse.
I want to say thank you to Councilmember Hudson for taking that. Growing up in a country which I experienced political unrest, which is Haiti, tragic natural disasters, extreme poverty, and so much more, I can somewhat understand what the people of Ukraine are now facing. We're saying the people of Ukraine, not the government, which is why my heart breaks for the Ukraine people as I watch the horrors of war in their country broadcast on the news. Ukraine did nothing to provoke this war, and they deserve any reasonable assistance our country can provide. I join the call and to ask President Biden to increase sanctions against Russia and help put an end to the senseless bloodshed. And I have to go on with the razor for my council member, Hanif. As an immigrant, I know firsthand why individuals travel, sometimes by any means necessary, to the shore of the United States. These individuals are seeking a better life and do not belong in cages or being bars, often separated from their families. Immigration is a fundamental part of the American dream and a testament to the promise our great nation holds. Hostility and cruelty to immigrants should not be welcome here. And this resolution makes it clear that the torch held high in New York Harbor still burns as a beacon of light for those yearning to breathe free. I commend Councilwoman Hanif, and I'm proud to be co-sponsor of this resolution and call for the Dignity, Not Detention Act passing into law. Thank you, and I support.
Thank you. Do we have any other council members who'd like to speak on the resolutions that we're voting on today? Okay, thank you. We're now going to have a voice vote on today's resolutions. Again, if you wish to vote against or abstain from any of today's resolutions, please notify the Legislative Documents Unit by email or approaching the dais now. I'll read today's resolutions into the record, and then we will take a vote on each one in order. Resolution 20 calls on the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign the New Deal for CUNY, Senate Bill 4461 and Assembly Bill 5843, which are intended to reestablish the City University of New York as an engine for social and economic mobility by waiving all tuition and creating certain staff-to-student ratios in order to increase student success. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, the ayes have it. We're just waiting 1 second. Okay, we'll move on to the next resolution. Pre-considered Resolution 66 calls on the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign Senate Bill 7373 and Assembly Bill 7099, which prohibit governmental entities from entering into agreements to house individuals in immigrant detention facilities. Will all those in favor please say aye?
Aye.
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 All those, all nays?
Nay.
All, any abstentions?
Sorry, could I? Oh, good.
I think we're voting now, so I think it's
Oh, it's
we moved
closed.
on from. So apologies. The ayes have it. We're now going to vote on pre-considered Resolution 67, which condemns Russia's invasion of Ukraine and calls upon Congress and President Joseph R. Biden to increase and expand the severity of sanctions imposed on Russia. Will all those in favor please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Lastly, pre-considered Resolution 72 expresses support for the people of Ukraine. Will all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. And any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you. We'll now move into general discussion. We will begin with Councilmember Menon.
Thank you so much. New York City is facing an ongoing affordable child care crisis. The pandemic heightened stress on parents who are already making tough decisions about how to care for their infants or toddlers and their children. This is a deeply personal issue to me as a mother of 4 children myself. Parents are being pushed out of the workforce because they can't enroll their children in programs that provide proper care and support. Often, if they can find a program, there are exorbitant costs that make it out of reach. That's why today I'm proud to introduce Resolution 69, which calls on the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign legislation that will make universal child care a reality for all New Yorkers. I want to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Caban, Councilmember Osei, Councilmember Ressler, and Public Advocate Jamani Williams, who are already signed on as prime co-sponsors. As we envision the future of our city, we have to strengthen the support system needed to meet the demand for excellent child care. Centers around the city severely lack resources, and they can't adequately pay child care providers or retain qualified staff. This child care crisis has a ripple effect throughout our city, and I urge everyone to join in signing on to the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. I now have Councilmember Nurse.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I just want to highlight the introduction of Resolution 55 in support of an extended producer responsibility bill at the state level, and I want to thank the Speaker for bringing this forward. Over the past few years, New York City has seen a major increase in paper and plastic waste that is creating additional barriers on our pathway to zero waste and added stress to our aging and inequitable waste infrastructure. Governor Hochul and the state Senate have begun to advance EPR this session, and it is critically important for New York City stakeholders to shape this so it is rooted in zero waste and environmental justice. As one of the largest municipal waste management operations in the country, the Department of Sanitation stands to benefit greatly in financial resources to support our operations. 4 borough-based solid waste advisory boards, the Department of Sanitation, and other advocates are engaging to ensure we establish a strong and equitable framework for the program and one that provides accountability. I urge the governor to adopt their recommendations before moving it forward. This is a huge step towards ending the ongoing public subsidy of a free utility to corporations who take no responsibility for the end cycle of their products. I hope you all join us in sponsoring this resolution, and thank you again, Speaker Adams, for bringing this forward.
Thank you. We're now going to go to Councilmember Sanchez.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, alongside Councilmember Tiffany Caban and Councilmember Amanda Farias, with the support of Controller Brad Lander, I am proud to be introducing a resolution calling on New York State Legislature to not renew Section 421A of the Real Property Tax Law. Enacted in 1971, a drastically different context for New York City than it is today. 421A is a property tax exemption in the United States in New York that is given to real estate developers for building new multifamily residential housing in New York City. In its 51 years of existence, 421A has subsidized luxury units at the expense of tax-paying New Yorkers. 421A cost the city $1.7 billion in foregone revenue in 2021 alone, making it the single biggest tax break in New York State. And I would point out to my colleagues that a majority of advertised income-restricted units were set at the middle income rents of 130% of the area median income. That's the equivalent for a family of 4 who makes $155,000 and pays $3,000 in rent. We, our taxpayers' dollars, are subsidizing that. In a city where 75% of New Yorkers cannot afford the units that are set aside through this program, 421A does not aid in providing low-income New Yorkers with the affordable homes they need. I'm proud to co-sponsor this resolution, and I look forward to working with our colleagues in the state and in the city in ushering a new program that will secure affordable housing for our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Councilmember Farias, and followed by Councilmember Christian.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today, I introduce my first bill as a member of this body, a resolution calling on our state legislature and the governor to sign and restore higher education funding for people in prison. Now that Pell Grants have been reinstated for people in prison, it is time for New York State to restore New York State tuition assistance programs eligibility. Lifting the ban on TAP for people in prison is a simple, easy, and uncontroversial step to promoting educational equity, strengthening democracy, and building racial justice. Restoring TAP would account for less than 1% of the overall $1.1 billion TAP budget, all while boosting economic security and upward economic mobility. We can no longer justify excluding marginalized communities impacted by mass incarceration from access to higher education. Restoring TAP is the step to promote educational equity and close the racial wealth gap in our communities. Black and brown people are disproportionately represented in the prison system historically and presently. 61% of Latinx New Yorkers and 45% of Black New Yorkers do not have a college degree. Our government should not prevent any single person that lives within our communities from pursuing a higher education. Our role is to provide more opportunities and additional options within our educational system, not squander them. We need to continue the work countering systemic failures by finding meaningful solutions for justice-impacted people. I urge my colleagues here today, both in person and virtually, to sign on to this resolution to support our commitment to educational equity and racial justice by restoring TAP. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to go to Councilmember Krishnan, followed by Councilmember Abreu.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader Powers, for accommodating me and my belated
And
comments.
I apologize, I did not get to him on the
Don't worry.
resolution.
Don't worry. I just wanted to go on record regarding Resolution 66, and first say a big thank you and congratulations to my colleague and Chair Shahana Hanif for her leadership on this issue, calling for the New York State Legislature to pass the Dignity Not Detention Act. In the Immigration Committee hearing, we heard disturbing testimony of what has been happening at Orange County Jail. Solitary confinement, retaliation against hunger strikers, and overall horrific civil rights abuses against those who are incarcerated there. Immigration detention, as evidenced by the testimony heard at the committee hearing, immigration detention is cruel, unnecessary, and inhumane. And immigrants should be with their families and their communities, not in detention centers, especially where there are blatant civil rights abuses. At that time of the hearing, the officials of the Orange County Jail failed to have the courage to show up to account for their behavior and to be accountable for their actions. I do remember reading one article, as I mentioned during the hearing, where an Orange County official had said that the actions of the hunger strikers was not some sort of Gandhian thing, which I find deeply offensive. As the first Indian American city council member in this body, what I see when I see hunger strikers and incarcerated people taking actions to protect their rights, I have seen Gandhian principles at work in civil disobedience and acting out against injustices. And so in solidarity with those who are incarcerated at Orange County Jail, in solidarity with all those who are in detention and incarcerated in our horrific immigration penal system, I proudly have casted a vote in favor of this resolution and urge New York State to join the movement to provide dignity for immigrant families and not detention, and end detention in this state. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to Councilmember Abreu, followed by Councilmember Caban and Brewer.
Well, first, I wanted to congratulate Pierina Sanchez for her leadership on the rent stabilization. We have a lot of rent-stabilized tenants between the Heights and the West Bronx. I'm also excited to be doing a joint hearing with Pierina with housing and the state federal legislation to discuss 421A next month. I think there's a lot of reform that needs to be done there to achieve true affordability for the residents and working class families of New York City. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll now go to Councilmember Caban, followed by Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you. I'm really excited and proud to have worked on Resolution 64 with Comptroller Lander and Housing and Buildings Chair Sanchez, a resolution calling on the New York State legislature to not renew the 421A program. As was mentioned before, and as many folks know, 421A first created in 1971 to subsidize the creation of quote-unquote affordable housing, Cost New York City $1.7 billion in foregone revenue in 2021, making it the single biggest tax break in the New York State budget. So what are we getting for that tax break? Research has shown that a majority of 421A units built since 2017 are set at 130% AMI. 75% of New Yorkers can't afford units at 130% AMI. And while the subsidized units are supposed to be rent stabilized, enforcement is non-existent, leaving tenants at risk. And this program is a massive developer giveaway for a pathetic amount of real affordable units. And Albany should scrap the program entirely, and we should instead focus on all of our efforts on reworking the city's broken property tax system and on building the new programs, tools, and laws to meaningfully address our city's housing crisis. And so I urge my colleagues and invite them to sign on as sponsors of this resolution today. Thank you.
Thank you. To close us out, we'll hear from Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you very much. First, I want to thank the legislative staff for helping my staff to draft all of these different intros. One in particular, intro 77, one of the issues is if there is a tenant who ends up on one of these lists, called a blacklist, not a great name, then it's very hard to get another apartment, and sometimes it has nothing to do with their situation. Sometimes buildings are emptied because they have end of 421A, end of J51. Everybody has to leave. It's a long story. And they end up in housing court, and it ends up being a list that they do not want to be on. So we should not have those lists. Accompanying, although different committee, which it will go to, is Intro 80, which has to do with some of the bureaus that license some of these lists that I think should not exist. So I just want to bring them to your attention, but mostly want to thank the staff for so much work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would any other council members like to speak? General discussion. Okay, I'll now call on Speaker Adrian Adams to close today's State of the Meeting.
The State of Meeting of March 10, 2022 is hereby adjourned. Have a great afternoon.